Hey everyone, welcome to Software Testing Mentor and RCB Academy. Today we are here with Abdul Rahim, who is a fresher, but he has recently got placed into TCS. And some of my videos that I have been posting, Abdul has been following it and they have been really helpful for him. So let's welcome Abdul and see what his experience has been in learning. So welcome, Abdul. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. What about you, sir?
Great. Thank you. Thanks, Abdul. Thanks for joining the call. Before we proceed further, Abdul, I would like to mention that this video is getting recorded and will be posted on YouTube for other viewers. Are you fine with that?
Yes.
Great. Okay. So Abdul, before we go ahead with manual testing interview, so for the viewers, today's interview will be manual testing for almost like 1 to 2 years, almost 0 to 2 years experience level. So before I proceed with that, I would like to get a feedback because you have already been placed into TCS, how you prepared overall, how my content helped you, and then we'll go ahead with the interview question. So your preparation journey will help viewers a lot.
Yes, sir. Basically, I have started my preparation from basic level, like from what is testing and why testing is required in software industry. Then when I come to know its importance, then I get into it. And I have learning from many things from many websites. Then after exploring many websites and many videos, I found your video very relevant to me. And you are explaining in a very simple language. And I followed all videos from the introduction and I followed all the playlist and I found it is very better and I wrote up notes. I wrote up notes all about that and I am preparing from that.
Great.
And also I took some interview guidance also
All
regarding
right.
in between you which you mentioned in videos. I
Yeah.
also noted that points. It
Great.
helped
That's
me a
good.
lot.
Great. So, like whatever content you found on the channel, was that the content in terms of questions asked in TCS? All the questions that you have been asked are there in the content that I have prepared, right? There is nothing that you have been asked that is outside of that content, right? Or
Yes, sir.
most of the
Yes,
things
sir.
were covered.
What they asked are mostly from the content which you have provided, and the topics which we are discussed on the channel are most familiar with that.
Yeah.
And one more thing they asked about API testing, which I am not aware about that, which I think it won't come under manual testing syllabus. I think
It
so.
does,
I
but
didn't cover
it's
that, but
basically after some experience. It does come like you can do automated API testing and manual API testing, like it's there. And the course is also there on the channel, but you might have, like it's for initial phases. I think you just need to get the introduction part of that. Yeah, please go ahead.
yes, yes, sir. Apart from that question, I answered all of them. I'm glad that they are satisfactory with my answers and they offered me a job within 1 week.
Oh, great. That's very good news, Abdul. I'm very thankful that you joined and you share your experience because I've been interviewing so many people and they like 95% of people who have given interview have been placed already and
Yes,
people don't come and share their experience back. So it's really good that you came. There was another girl that came last week. She shared the experience, how the content is helping her. So it really, motivates other people who are watching that, yes, they are watching the right sort of content and learning something that will help them to crack MNC interviews, right? So this is something which was the purpose behind it, right? To help freshers to experience, to get into the good organization and actually see how testing is done, right? So that's the whole purpose. So thank you very much. And now, without any delay, I'll start basic sort of fresher level or 1 to 2 year experience because you have already been placed. So I'll increase the level a little bit, okay? So let's go ahead. And first thing I want to understand from you, you have mentioned about your project, right? Integrated power converter for fast charging, okay? I would like to
yes,
know a little bit about that project before we get into software testing.
yes, sir. Basically, its title is Development of an Integrated Power Converter for Fast Charging.
Mhm.
Basically, it is related to electrical vehicles. We choose that project because in current era, the electric vehicles are booming comparatively automobile industry, and we choose that. The most challenging part in electrical vehicles is that it's battery, and it could not sustain battery for longer hours. And for that purpose, we found a solution through some resources that in conventional electrical vehicles, generally every company, and it is in conventional manner, every company will prefer to use lithium ion batteries because of its high advantages compared to lead acid batteries and all. Comparatively to lithium ion batteries, we prefer to use supercapacitors. Supercapacitors are a kind of basic elements in electronic circuits which, using resistor, inductor and capacitor, these things, we can make a battery which could sustain the battery for longer hours. And when coming to supercapacitor, it is rarely used. It is not used. It is still in R&D phase. Not every company has accepted it for the in development phase. Still, it is under research. Once it is successfully done, then it will be come into picture in our real world. And why we choose supercapacitors, because of its property that it will sustain battery for longer hours and it will get charged in very less time comparative to lithium-ion batteries. Conventionally, it will take about 8 to 10 hours to complete charge of 100%. But coming to supercapacitors, it will take 2 to 3 hours and it will charge very quickly than other batteries. That's why we prefer that, so that we can we can take up the challenge that is facing by all in the world. And we made a prototype so that we use little charge. And the main target users of this project is basically every person will be target of this project in future, not currently but in future, because every government and every country's government is preferred to use electrical vehicles to reduce pollution and other waste which are facing in the world. According to survey and 20 Paris Convention that is held in Paris in 2015, the Indian government has taken an initiative to reduce its carbon content by 70% by 2030. This will be a great move and great step to achieve that sustainable goal. I prefer that.
Great. So not only it is efficient in charging, it has long battery life and it is more environment friendly than lithium ion, right?
Yes, sir.
Great. So,
but one of the disadvantages is that it will be initial investment will be little high, sir, comparatively others. But correct. We can achieve sustainable goals.
That's correct. Yeah, I mean, sustainable goals is more important for the mankind in next 50 years rather than looking at the profit at the moment. Now, why did I ask for this project? Now, I know this is not at all related to, this is more of an electronics sort of project that you have done, not related to software testing. The reason you are asked about the project is basically how well you have worked in the project and what all details you know. So you have explained it in really good way that I have been able to follow each and everything. Like I got 3 key points that you wanted to explain. It charges quickly. It discharges, it's efficient than lithium ion and it's environment friendly, right? So which is the best sort of thing. So good explanation there about your project. And to other viewers, if you are mentioning your project, this is the way that you should be, targeting your prepare about the project and explain. So great answer there, Abdul. Now let's come back to the question about software testing. So can you name some of the phases of software testing life cycle?
Software
testing life cycle. STLC.
Okay, STLC. In software testing life cycle, basically it started from the requirement phase, and once the requirements are collected, then the testing phase will be started. There will be, after requirement collection, the test cases will be written and the test scenarios will be written and test plan will be written and it will be followed. All test cases, test scenarios and test plans will be written following the test strategies. And after that, we will go for testing once the development once the build is ready for testable. Then once the testing is started, we'll go for testing. If the bug is found, then we'll go for bug report. We'll write a report which is also called as bug report or defect report. In that, we'll mention everything about report, how to reproduce it, how to write it, and how to get it, all that. And after bug report, we'll write traceability matrix so that each and every module has been tested or not. After that, we go for meeting. In that, the tested will explain each and every person after the once the testing is successful, then he will mention the meeting is called as retrospective meeting. In that meeting, the test lead and test manager will explain the drawbacks of the and wrong steps which were followed in the past steps. Then how to overcome that wrong steps. then he will mention and will take some another challenges for the next phase. This all comes under testing life cycle.
Right. Yeah. So basically, the retrospective that you mentioned, that is not just for the testing activity. It is more for a agile software development approach. Scrum follows it, so it's for everyone getting involved there. So that's overall the process that you explained is what is followed in the actual project. So basically, you have requirement analysis and planning, and you design your test cases, right? Write the test case, execute, raise defects, and follow that life cycle, and then closure. And this retrospective meeting is more of agile scrum, which is overall like SDLC, and the whole team testing, development, and BAs, everyone gets involved into the retrospective meeting. It could be for the testing team separately, but mostly it's for whole team. And then where they discuss about, the whole team discusses what went well, what didn't went well, and what we can improve in the next iteration. And when we say iteration or sprint, it's like 2 to 4 weeks development cycle, right? Okay, great. So on this same STLC, I would like to know, what do you understand by test closure, and why is test closure important?
Basically, test closure is a centralized location where every test cases will be stored. It is also called a test closure or test repository, where we store each.
No, repository is separate. So closing the test activities. So that's what. So in the software testing life cycle.
When we will close the testing activity, you are asking about that.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, test closure is basically a document that gives a summary of all the tests conducted during the software development lifecycle. It also gives a detailed analysis of bugs and errors found in the testing phase.
That's correct. Yeah, great. So basically, how your testing went, you document all of that, whether testing has passed or met the exit criteria, there are no showstopper or critical defects left. So you specify all of that in the closure report. And that report is important because it gives a fair bit of idea whether the software is okay or fit for releasing into the production, right? If there are critical defects already open and not fixed, how can you release the software to production, right? If you know that there is a defect, if I say, take an example of Amazon.com, and when there is a new feature that is being developed, but because of that feature, when a person adds an item to the cart, the item doesn't get added at all. This is, like a critical defect. If this defect is still open during your testing and hasn't been fixed, so this goes into the closure report, right? That this is something which is not fixed, and these are the open defects. So that report gives a fair bit of idea to release managers that whether you go into the production or don't, right? So that's the benefit of it. Okay, great. Now, the next thing I want to ask is, so in the test execution, so first thing, what is test execution? Okay, when I say test execution, what do you understand? And what do you actually do in test execution?
Basically, test execution is one phase of testing. Test execution is a process of executing the code and comparing the expected and actual results so that we can meet the requirement that is given by the client. Some of the factors which will be followed in test execution are like, we follow test suite and traceability matrix, some kind of that things we use so that we won't miss any module or from testing phase.
That's correct. So basically, can you give me an example? When I say, okay, Abdul, go ahead and execute login test case, or just hypothetically, there is one test case that I have given to you. Go ahead and execute it on any Amazon.com e-commerce website. I want you to execute one login test. What steps will you follow?
Basically, login page is the first page. So we will follow the requirements which are given by the client. And on that requirement, according to that requirement, we'll write some test scenarios and test cases. In test scenarios, generally test scenarios is a simple thing that what to test. In test scenarios, we'll test that, write some of the scenarios like test the login module using the username, giving the correct username, wrong username, exceeding the username range, using the alphanumerical inputs and alphabetical inputs, and uppercase inputs, uppercase alphabetical inputs, and lowercase alphabetical inputs. We'll write some of that test scenarios, and then we go for test cases. Like in test cases, we'll give real inputs to the application which is being tested. In that phase, we'll give test case inputs like if the requirement is that you should give 8 characters in the username in alphanumerical order, and the first character of the username should be of uppercase. Then we'll give valid inputs. Like if I'm going with my name, capital A, then B, DUL, and then 123, then star at the rate. We use some characters. Then I'll give input. If it is showing that if it is not getting entered, though I'm giving this thing, because in username I mentioned one character, that is at the rate. But according to requirement, I should use only alpha and numeric username. Then it is not allowing me to entering. Then it is called as positive test cases, and positive test case has been passed. And after that, if I gave the same name along with some other character, if it is not allowing us, then that test case has been passed. If it is allowing us, then there is a bug. Coming to the after once the username has been tested with all valid inputs and test coverage has been maximum test coverage has been covered, then we go for with what we say password. I mean, first we go for with valid username and valid password, then valid username and invalid password, then valid username, valid password, valid username and invalid password, and invalid username and valid password. All the possible scenarios will test, and all the possible inputs will give and test. Once the testing is been done, it will be closed when the test engineer feels that the maximum test coverage has been passed. When he is satisfied with the inputs and the coverage, then he will go for the next module. Right. Basically, it is done in manual testing.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Yeah, so you covered, like a lot of stuff in the answer, like in the execution. You have covered scenarios. You have covered the test cases, different, combinations that you will cover. So great set of, like overall, like answering the question in this way, not taking it too long, but overall including everything that is required. It is really good to showcase that, yes, you know the overall process. So nice answer there. Okay, great. All right. You also mentioned about functional testing, that you have some skill in the functional testing. So can you explain me functional testing example? Just what is functional testing, and give me an example of it.
Yes, basically functional testing is also known as component level testing. In this testing, each and every component of an application will be tested in a proper manner with all inputs. And in functional testing, we'll give inputs according to the test cases which we have written. Then in functional testing, we should follow some etiquettes, that we should not expect the requirement. We should not analyze the requirement. We should not give expect the requirement that it would be like that. We should not assume the requirement, and we should test the application in a moderate way, and it should not be exceeded. Like it should not excess testing, or it should not be under testing. And one more thing I would like to tell about functional testing is that it is the first level of testing. It is also known as rigorous testing. We do rigorous testing in this thing. And example of functional testing is that when we can take same login module of Gmail, for example. If we go for Gmail, in Gmail, first the user will get the valid username and valid input. And once the login module is completed, as I explained before, once the login module is successful, then once after login module, we can see that there will be sent items and inbox items and draft items, spam items, delete, setting, home, all that are there. And we should check each and every module one by one with rigorous, so that each module should cover maximum coverage. And once each and every module has been covered, then we go for integration testing, which is a relationship between modules.
That's correct. Okay, great. So basically, I got a little bit confused here. I think you mentioned that functional testing is the first level, but I think that you mentioned about then what is the difference between functional and unit or component? Like
unit testing. Okay.
I think you explained all about unit testing.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. That's fine. I mean, in terms of unit testing, your answer was absolutely fine. But then unit can be even a smaller piece of code that can be tested. Yes, that's all good. But I want to get an example, like the same Gmail example. If I say, go ahead, Abdul, give me an example of a functional test in Gmail application. Can you give me an example?
So unit testing is the white box testing, and it will be done by developers, right, sir? So in unit testing, there will be each and every line of a code will be tested. Whereas coming to functional testing, in functional testing, we'll check the behavior of the application.
That's correct.
And each and every module, each and every component of behavior will check the behavior.
Yes.
Whereas in unit testing, the developer will check each and every line of the code, so that it can get executed. If we take example of Gmail, once we get in login with a valid credentials, then we'll check each and every module like sent items, inbox, spam, drafts. Once login is completed, we'll check for inbox. We'll give it some inputs as per the requirement that it should take about words of 1,000 words, not more than that. We'll check for that. Like we'll give 1,000 words and more than that, we will follow any of the test case technique so that we can follow maximum test coverage. Then once the test coverage is covered, then we go for next module. Then we, according to the requirements of that module, we give inputs. Once the test coverage is completed of inbox, then we go for send. In sent modules, if the requirement is given like that, it should send only PDF type of files. Then we'll check for JPG and we'll check for PNG. Then if the requirement is given that the PDF file should be sent of 50 KB range, then we'll check for more than 50 KB, less than 50 KB. All that will, so that each and every requirement should be meet, so that we'll do for functional testing. And functional testing is the key, and we can consider it as the main testing and responsible for the bug-free and good application to deliver to the client comparatively unit testing.
Right. Never use bug-free because there is no bug-free softwares. There is no product which is bug-free, right? It's just that it might be in future, it might appear, which we, in some circumstances, it is not shown at the moment, but in future it might. So there is no such thing which is bug-free, right? So, but yeah, overall, like you explained about all the functionalities in the Gmail, you will go ahead module by module, you'll see what functional requirements are there in the requirement, and you'll keep testing it. And then overall, later phases, you will do the integration test, the integrated module, which is integration. So great. Some good examples there, which is really good. All right. But make sure that you, if in case you don't get what interviewer has asked, go ahead and ask to repeat the question, because first time you got, I think you didn't hear it properly. You explained about unit testing, right? So that might give an impression that you got confused, but you didn't hear the question properly, right? So just that thing. Okay. All right. Okay. Moving on. So can you explain a little bit about the expected outcome and actual outcome? So when you do test execution, right, you mentioned about expected outcome and actual outcome. So what are these?
When we do testing, we go for expected. We'll check the application according to the valid inputs. And when we are giving inputs, we are expecting some output. We'll write some output also. We are expecting that. When we give input, we'll get, if we are getting the same output, then it is called as expected output. And coming to actual output, the actual output is an output which is given by the client so that he can expect in his application. And the expected result, expected output is an ideal result that the tester should get. The tester should get after the test case is performed. And that's all.
No, I think here you are a little bit confused. I want to clarify. So basically, expected outcome is the outcome that is defined in the requirement, right? So what end user or customer wants, when you write your test cases, that's what. So you say login to the application. So there is an expected outcome. So login should be successful, right? This is the expected outcome. Now, when you go ahead and execute this test case, right? So during test execution, you then, against this expected outcome for that test step, you mention the actual outcome, whether login was successful or not. If login was successful, and expected outcome says login should be successful, then expected and actual match, right? And when they match, your test step got passed. You move to the next step, right? So during the test execution phase, you see what is the expected outcome in the test case, and then step by step, you follow those steps and launch the application, follow the step, and basically say, yes, actual outcome is same as it is mentioned in the expected, pass, move to next. It's same, pass. Next step, fail. Actual outcome is not same as expected. That's when it's failed. That's when the test case failed and you raise the defect, right? So, all right, clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I raised a little bit level for you because you mentioned that you have been selected. So I just wanted it to be really little bit hard. But
sir, I placed, but I'm still a fresher, sir.
Yeah, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I just raised it to like a 2 years, like even more than that. So don't worry at all. Okay, it's a learning for you, and you are giving really good answer. So don't worry about that. Okay. All right. Now let's move on to the defect. So Can you give me an example of high severity defect? When is a defect high severity? Yes.
When the user is giving credentials and he wants to log in the application. He logged in, but the entire interface is blank. Then we consider it as high severity.
That's correct.
And
yes.
High severity, high priority also.
Yes, because high severity and high priority, because nobody else, you can't proceed further, right? Application broke itself.
Yes,
Priority, yeah, high priority because nobody else in the team can do anything until this is fixed. So high severity and high priority. Very good. What do you understand by duplicate defects?
Sir, duplicate defects.
Yes.
Basically, it is a bug. When development of an application is done, build is given to the testing phase. Test engineer will do the test, and if he find any bug or defect, he will state it as bug is opened. Once the bug is opened, he will test it and he will check the defect that which is already there or not. And if the defect is valid, then he will consider it and assign to the concerned developer who is responsible for that module or for that defect. And the developer will follow the bug report and he will try to reproduce the bug. If he reproduces once he reproduces it, he will retest the application and follow the steps which has been followed by the test engineer to produce it. And once if the bug is valid and if the bug is already given to him, then it is the second time, but he has postponed it for the next time. Then such a bug is called as duplicate bug. As per my knowledge, I think a little I confused in deferred bug and bug.
You explained about deferred, which is good, no problem. So that whatever you explained is deferred defect, so you defer it, right? Now duplicate, in plain English, it's basically duplicate of something, right? So when we say duplicate defect, so say for example, there are 10 people working in the team, right? And 3 of them are working on the same module. I found a defect and I raised it. And then Abdul also works in my same module, and Abdul also found similar thing. And without checking with the teammates, you also raised similar defect. Okay. Yeah. So one of those 2 defect is duplicate. So what happens is, in that case, the duplicate one, the one that was raised later, is closed, marking as a duplicate of the first defect that I raised. Okay. So deferred and duplicate. So duplicate is what I explained now. What you explained is deferred defect, which is good. Don't worry about that. Okay. You know about duplicate.
Sir, one thing I want to ask, sir. Will it be possible in real time, sir? That because in real time, every industry will use tools like JIRA tool or any other tool, so that they use bug repositories, and everyone will have access to look after that bugs.
Yes.
When one person has find that bug and he has assigned and logged the bug, then how can the second person will log the same bugs?
So it does happen. So even though there are tools that are being used,
according to my knowledge, it can be possible only when the 2 test engineers have a common module, like login module or some other. When the bug is in common module,
that's correct.
Both test engineers are working in the common module. In that scenario, the duplicate bug is possible.
That's
Other than
correct.
that, is there any chance of getting that, sir?
Yes. So only if 2 people are testing sort of same thing, right? Or one person testing one thing and other person is testing the whole application, but then encountered same sort of defect when he was accessing the application. So tool in itself, defect tracking tool in itself won't block you from raising duplicate defects. What the process is, usually when you will go into the project, you will use JIRA, right? So in JIRA, what the process is followed, whenever somebody is raising a defect, usually the team members see the list of defects that are being raised and then, discuss. So usually there are daily stand-up meetings. So team works very collaborative these days. So it's not like, I'm working in silo, other person is not communicating. So usually there is a clear communication, but still there are cases wherein, say, for example, I have raised something and then the other person also raised something, similar thing. And this is something which is so frequent that it happens even, like in last month as well, I closed a defect, which was a duplicate of something. So it does happen, right? Because tool is not going to block you. It's more of, when you are finding a defect, whether you go to the list of open defect or defects that have been raised or open, and you see something similar. If you see something similar, you go ahead and discuss that this defect is already there and I have found this. So is this same? Okay. If it is same, I'll just put a comment on the existing defect and won't raise it, right? So that way. Okay. But it does happen. All right. So duplicate defects, and then deferred is what you explained. Now, the last question. We are almost at the end of the interview. So last question I want to ask is, when do you reopen a defect?
When do I reopen the defect?
That's
Yes, sir.
correct. Yes.
When the defect is assigned to the particular developer, then developer will do some bug fixes. Once the bug fix has been done, the developer will do one round of testing, one white box testing. Then he will hand over the build to the test engineer, concerned test engineer. The concerned test engineer will do one round of retest after bug fixes. If he found the application is running fine without any bugs, then he will go for closing that bug status of that bug. Once he closes the bug, then he will go for the next module. In future, there will be again the same problem in the same module and the same bug has been raised. Then in such scenarios, the bug will be again reopened and considered to the concerned developer once again. Basically, this scenario arises when the test engineer is not well skilled or are not experienced or he has not complete skillful. In such scenarios, this kind of bugs will rise as per my knowledge.
Yes. So it could be either ways, right? It could be the tester closed it without verifying it properly, right? First time.
Yes.
And then the defect was not actually fixed. So could be the case, or it could be the case wherein developer fix something, but then in the next cycle, in the next sprint, they introduced some new feature which was very correlated to this one, and that new feature introduced this bug again. So it could be either ways, right? It could be, testers, because tester is not able to verify or didn't verify it properly, or it could be because of some other code fixes. And that's where whenever we run the test executions, attaching the screenshots and steps and everything, the results is very important. Okay. So that you can go back and see what has been verified and what was the actual state of application in the actual verification, what's the state now. So you can compare, right? So great.
Yes.
All right. I think that's pretty much it, Abdul. We are almost over time. So thank you very much. And
sir, one thing I want to ask that. When we are going for second sprint, like second release, if there is any defect, we go for regression testing, sir. In regression testing, we'll do impact area analysis. Impact area analysis will be done by mostly test engineer. In impact area analysis, the test engineer will consider some points which are very important for them to do analysis. Can you mention that? Can you tell some of that?
Yeah. So basically impact analysis, when you go to, multiple iterative development sprints. So this becomes a real, sort of challenge, and how you can approach this challenge is, say, for example, next sprint, what stories or what features are being developed. Okay. So you get to know the details of those modules. Then in a collaborative manner, you basically go ahead and discuss with the business analyst and developer. So it's not just you going and figuring out everything in the impact analysis. You go ahead and see what new features are being developed in next sprint, and whether those features or defect fixes are impacting any of the existing functionality that was developed. Okay. If that's the case, then you pick and choose the key test cases of the previous module and ensure that you execute those in the new development as well. And this is the reason why in agile development, Scrum, automation becomes really important, because to keep up with the regression suite in each sprint, because every sprint you have to do it, right? Every sprint you have to ensure that your regression pack will keep increasing, because in sprint 1 you have some features, in sprint 2 you have previous sprint features plus new features. So there will be some regression test cases from previous sprint. So this keeps on piling up. And if you have automation, you keep automating those. So in the next sprint, you execute the automation test cases, automated regression. Then similarly, you keep building that. So that's where. But in terms of impact analysis, you basically go ahead, discuss what new modules are being developed and which other modules these modules are impacting or touching, so that you can pick the right set of test cases. So discussion and collaboration is the key. Okay. Nothing else. You don't need to go ahead in the code and do all the analysis. It's the job of developer. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Abdul. So I think that's pretty much it. So I'll quickly come to the feedback. So I think overall, Abdul, very good. Just a couple of things here and there, because the level itself was higher. I tweaked the questions a little bit as per the experienced candidate, not the fresh candidate. So, but still you did very well. So no issues in that. I hope that the resume that you have sent me is not the one that you sent in TCS. That was a separate resume, or this is the same resume that you used in TCS as well?
I just shortlisted from that.
Okay, so you use the same resume, is it?
Yeah, same resume, but some points have been shortlisted and
Right. Okay. So you
it's been
improved it a
reduced.
little. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Great. Yeah. So I think, like it's okay, but you can improve it even more. Like, a good amount of work in your project, a good amount of skills in testing, the overall process. You'll be really good when you go into the project, right? So just let it reflect in your resume, because your resume is the first thing that anybody sees, so they'll know, yes, this guy is good fit, so let's go ahead. But anyways, you're placed now, so congratulations. And
Thank you, sir.
I'm pretty sure you'll do really well in your project. Okay, so if there is nothing else, then let's disconnect.
Any
And
suggestion for me in future so that I can excel in
oh
my
yeah,
career
yeah,
in
yeah,
testing?
yeah, sure. Yes, that's the very important thing. Now from here, my suggestion is keep learning the with the same pace that you have been learning. API testing, okay, and automation. Don't stop here. Keep brushing up your manual testing or the basic stuff always, okay? Because there is no ending. So manual testing, your basics, your how you will approach testing in itself is the most important thing. Keep learning that. Along with that, how you will do API testing. Okay, start with that. How you will do API, test automation or web service automation. Selenium. Okay, Selenium with Java is very popular. So API testing and Selenium with Java, start learning that. The whole series is available for free. SOAP UI, API testing with SOAP UI is available for free. It is starting from the manual testing and complete automation. It's all there on the channel. Selenium with Java is all there with frameworks. Okay, so whether you want to learn with Java, with Python, it's all there. It includes a lot of advanced topics like up to test architect level. So you can start from very basic and keep building those skills. So this is my advice. In 3 to 4 years, you will be at a complete different level. Okay, you will, like the person who keeps learning, and you are technically, if good, then you can reach heights.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to share one thing, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I got motivated through your video, sir. One video you have made on terrace of a building,
Mm-hmm.
like even a test engineer can earn a huge amount
Yeah.
comparative to
That's correct.
as compared to developer. No
That's
need to
correct.
worry. You made that video. It is a very good content in that video, and it is really inspiring, sir. Inspiring for the new persons who are
That's
aspiring for to become test engineers. It will be
yeah.
a very helpful video, sir.
That's
From
correct.
my
Yes.
point of view, I find it very beautiful, sir.
That's correct.
I
Thank
would
you.
I would suggest
So
new people who are watching it.
yeah. So there'll be a detailed video and the roadmap, how I have reached
Yes,
there and how you and others can reach, right? So it's basically,
yes,
if you do, because there was no one for me to guide, right? I have made my own path on my own, just exploring. So there was no elder to me who guided me. And I think YouTube was not, no channels or nothing was there, right? We all, I mean, I read all from books and, buying books and reading all of that. So this is the platform which gives me an opportunity to share how I have reached, and then, maybe expedite the process of the new freshers and graduates. So very soon, I think next month, I'll be coming live once we reach that 50,000 subscriber mark. Okay. So I'll be coming live with all that roadmap, because I promise that I'll be coming live once I reach that milestone, and we'll be sharing all of that with the facts. So it's not something, that's not doable. It's easily doable. You need to be at the right place, and to be at the right place, you need to have the skill. Okay.
yes,
So that's why learning
yes.
skills is very important, right?
Yes, really, it's a very inspiring story, sir. I really like that your journey. And one more thing, I am expecting that you would reach not only 50,000, but more than that, because your content is very fine and very crisp, so that even beginner can understood easily.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you,
what I
Akhil.
want to say.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
You are
I'll keep.
making a massive change in even in a beginner, sir, with your simple words.
That's what, like the overall point here is, like anyone who sees the video should be able to understand, even if, like, I've seen many courses, I have attended many courses, and to grasp the automation, like why you do automation or why you are writing this function this way. It's a challenge. And that's the challenge that I want to remove. Like if I go ahead and explain this to anyone, I'm writing this class because I want to do this in a real world and with real world examples, it becomes easy. So that's the whole point. I'm not sure how much I'm able to do it, but I'll keep trying and, see how it helps. Okay.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Abdul. And it was
You
pleasure
are doing
talking to you.
great.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yes. You are doing a great job, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. You are helping the aspirants like us without any expecting any money and all.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you. Thanks, Abdul. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.